with David Fahrenthold, a Washington Post investigative reporter who won a Pulitzer last year or this year for his work in 2016 covering Donald Trump and his charitable contributions or lack of them. David, you started out with a simple quest. You heard Donald Trump say in a campaign event that he was going to give $6 million in donations to veterans and veterans groups. You wanted to see where that money went, whether it was actually given out. You thought it would be an easy quest. It wasn't. I mean, how long did it actually take?
I thought it would take 2 or 3 days, and it took 4 months. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out. So Donald Trump said he'd raise $6 million for veterans, including $1 million out of his own pocket. So as you said, I just wanted to know where the money went. I asked the Trump campaign. They wouldn't tell me. I called veterans advocates. I called veterans groups that were affiliated with the Trump campaign. After months and months, I could only account for about $3 million of the $6 million. And I couldn't find particularly the $1 million Trump said he'd given away out of his own pocket. So finally, after 4 months, I got this answer from Corey Lewandowski. Corey Lewandowski called me and said, okay, I can now tell you Donald Trump's given away his $1 million to veterans. This is like late May, when the original promise had been made in January. Corey said, but I can't tell you who got the money or when or in what amounts. It's all secret. Just take my word for it. That was wrong, as it turned out. That was a falsehood. But it took me that long even to just get the Trump campaign to tell me where this $1 million had gone.
Okay, and you said at some point you kind of changed your focus from trying to prove him wrong to trying to prove him right, trying to show that he had given $1 somewhere. I mean, describe that little evolution in your thinking.
Well, so after Corey Lewandowski told me Trump had given this $1 million away, I want to check it. I want to prove that that's true. And I thought, well, there's no way in the world I can prove him wrong. I'm not going to be able to call every veterans organization in America and have them each say, no, he gave us no money. That would take forever, and you'd never really be sure. But so I said, I'll just prove him right. I'm going to try to find somebody somewhere who'll say, yeah, I got $1 or $10 or $100 of Donald Trump's money in this $1 million he gave to veterans. So I started doing it on Twitter. I was looking for any group who had any. So I was tweeting at veterans advocates, veterans groups, veterans magazines, just looking for somebody who would say, oh yeah, over here, I got some of that money.
Now, so that was Twitter searching. Had you done Twitter searching for information before?
Never. I had used Twitter not very effectively. I'd used it sort of to tweet out my own stories, but I only had about 4,500 followers. So I was not using it properly, and I was not very well known on Twitter.
Okay. But the Twitter searching, that kind of unleashed something you had never really experienced or seen before, right?
Yeah, people got really interested in it. They started passing my tweets around. I was really surprised at the reach I was able to get just by sort of making my search public. People like journalism. There's a reason they make movies about journalists. People are interested in the hunt and the chase part of journalism. And as I sort of opened myself up and said, look, I'm trying to find an answer to this question. I'm trying to find sort of this missing piece. Help me look. People really took to that.
Okay. Now, over the course of the year, how many different charities did you end up contacting, looking for information on, and how did you organize those notes?
Well, we went back looking at Trump's adult life, all the times when he said he was going to give money to charity, and basically tried to figure out if he'd ever done it, and tried to look for evidence that he was right. Again, trying to prove Trump right, trying to find some of those gifts he said he'd been giving along the way. So I started calling charities. Well, first I called Trump and asked him, which charities did you give to? And they didn't respond. So then I said, okay, I'm going to try to prove Trump right again. And I'm going to find the charities I think that if he was going to give money to anybody, he'd give it to these groups first. So these were charities that held events at Mar-a-Lago, that sort of were his clients renting out ballrooms. These were charities he'd praised on Twitter. He talked about publicly saying how great they were. Charities run by his friends, or charities he'd given money to from this thing called the Donald J. Trump Foundation, which was a charity filled with other people's money, not Trump's. I started writing out those notes on a notepad. Every time I call a charity looking for evidence Trump had given them money, I'd write the name of the charity and the result, yes or no, on this notepad. I started taking pictures of that and posting it on Twitter so people could know, okay, look, this is how hard he's working to prove Trump right.
Okay. Now, the other big story that you had last year was the Access Hollywood tape. So after months and months of really detailed document-based reporting, tracking his money, something that took months, this story came together in a very short time period. From when you heard about that tape until it was published online, how much time elapsed?
We actually got the tape about 11 a.m. on a Saturday, and the story was published at 4 p.m. the same day.
Wow, so it was
5 hours. 5 hours. And it took a lot of people to make that happen. It's like video editors, took lawyers, editors, all kinds of people. But yes, 5 hours.
Okay. And then finally, you did all this fabulous work. Trump still won the election. You mentioned that an interviewer once asked you, so do you think that none of this really mattered? How do you answer that question? Did it matter?
It certainly mattered. I think the idea that nothing matters, journalism doesn't matter, is entirely the wrong lesson to take from Trump's election. Right? The point was not to beat Donald Trump or make sure he lost. It was to make sure people knew about Donald Trump, that they sort of saw his true character, as much of his true character as we could show. If they know that and they go into the voting booth, that's their job to make that decision. So we did our job, they did their job. And the fact that Trump won doesn't mean that our reporting about Trump was ineffective. There were a lot of other factors in that race. There was another candidate in that race. So the idea that nothing matters, I think, is completely the wrong lesson to draw from Trump. And it's certainly the wrong lesson to draw now. Now that Trump is president, our reporting about him really, really does matter. Not just in the sense that it's informing people, but also people are paying attention. I think the idea that nothing matters maybe comes from this idea that Trump has voters or Republicans that don't care, they don't read and don't care about this. I've seen no evidence of that. There's a huge public engagement with our stories and everybody else's stories, and you're seeing the effect of it in all kinds of public opinion polls.